All right, everyone, welcome back to JPC Spiritual Talk. It's Jared Campbell. So let's continue our discussion into World War III. So I put some stuff together. Let's get the screen shared over. Let's jump right into this because we have a lot to cover. And I like to get things done. And I don't like to waste a whole lot of time. So as I get the screen shared over, and as it comes up on the screen, right, so we're going to talk about right here, we're going to watch a few videos. One video will be muted because of music. I will get a hit on YouTube. Not always on Rumble, but on YouTube. But the video will have subtitles. All right, so what we see on the screen, it says, concern and reflection in NATO. The numbers do not come out. 700,000 Russian soldiers in waiting for the start of the main attack. All estimates and plans fell out. What Putin has revealed. So let's see what Putin has revealed. All right, so here's a few notes. Right? So Putin's profound revelation that 700,000 Russian soldiers are participating in the operations caused concern and reflection in NATO's administration with the U.S. and also Ukraine. If Russia managed to mobilize 100,000 troops without, and this is the main conscription, then the problem is enormous for Ukraine. The numbers do not come out based on their losses. Its destruction is 100% certain unless NATO gets very actively involved. The main Russian offensive has yet to begin. We're going to listen to Putin now. But its effects have been felt in Kiev. Moscow has yet to use them, as the target must be significant, not just Donbass. Kiev or even Kharkiv. We'll find out soon. So 700,000 Russian soldiers are definitely on war footing, are on war footing, according to Putin. Putin has revealed that almost 700,000 troops are currently involved in the offensive in Ukraine. Here is Ukraine's the projections by the Ukrainian army was that there were 550,000 Russian troops a few days ago. The main intelligence director of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine announced a record, a group as it is called, of the Russian armed forces. According to the calculations of the main intelligence director of the Ukrainian military defense, up to 550,000 Russian soldiers are located along the front line of the northern military district. The intelligence report said that in February of 2022, which was a few years ago when the invasion started, only 180,000 Russian armed forces military personnel entered Ukraine. In November last year, the Russian army was estimated at 400,000 soldiers. In addition to personnel, the number of armored vehicles has increased along the Ukrainian border with Belgorod, Kursk, and Bryansk regions on the territory of Donbass, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. Also, additionally, 150,000 soldiers have been requested by Kiev immediately. Based on the estimate of 550,000 Russian soldiers, Kiev has asked NATO member countries to prepare a force of 150,000 Ukrainian troops as soon as possible. Kiev has planned to mobilize at least 150,000 Ukrainians in the first stage. That's precisely the number NATO countries plan to train to repel the Russian summer offensive. So Russia's getting ready for an offensive this summer. Okay, so here's a few videos.
А у нас в зоне специальной военной операции почти 700 тысяч. Программа «Время героев» рассчитана на тех людей, которые хотят, готовы, имеют какую-то подготовку, уже базовую, там, образование высшее, еще что-то, так? Но претендовать, и главное, амбиции есть, претендовать на рост, карьерный рост в самом хорошем смысле этого слова. Но далеко не у всех из 700 тысяч есть такое образование и даже такие амбиции. Разные люди по-разному планируют свою жизнь и по-разному смотрят на то, что они хотели бы делать в будущем. Задача государства – это сложная вещь, которую вы сейчас затронули. И задача государства – поддержать людей, которые оказались в очень тяжелых условиях, которые вот видят то, что происходит, Я думаю, что здесь вам не нужно говорить. Вот сейчас доктор только рассказывала про эти тяжелейшие ранения, да и здесь вот люди есть с такими тяжелейшими ранениями. И вот, сами прошли через это и видят, что происходит. Ну, через кровь проходят. И, конечно, и реабилитация нужна, и поддержка нужна сейчас и будет нужна в будущем для большого количества людей. И мы уже сегодня думаем о том, каким способом организовать и оказать эту поддержку всем тем, которые в ней будут нуждаться.
All right, so here's another video. It's a 3-minute video. It's going to be on mute because of the music, but it does have subtitles, so I do apologize. So the link is in the description box, so if you want to hear it without it being muted, so click on the link. All right, so here we go. Let's play this. Since it's muted, I can talk a little bit. You'll be able to hear me. As we can see, I think things are starting to escalate out of control, right? Are the numbers as high as Putin is saying? We don't know, right? But there are some other videos that will be playing that makes you wonder what's going on. So we're going to look at some other stuff too. We're going to listen to a video from a Russian, I think he's the Russian Special Forces. There's a video. And he's going to be talking about how they're fighting against 35 countries. They're fighting globalists. And later on, we'll see that video. So just stick around, okay? Russia claims that they are recruiting very well members in their armed forces, right? Their recruiting is going up. That is what Putin is saying, right? So once again, are the numbers as high as they say they are? If they are, it's kind of a big deal, right? And we're also going to see videos too. So I hope you stick around. That the Russians are now they are now training the Chinese in trench warfare for Taiwan. So stick around for some of these videos, right? There's a lot of this is good stuff that everybody needs to know, right? A few more, like another minute or so on this video. The Russians have gotten very good at drone warfare too, right? Even the Ukrainians are good at drone warfare too. There's a lot of good videos with the Ukrainians using their drones, like you see right here with the Russians. Both the Russians and Ukrainians do very well on their drones. Even in Israel, Hezbollah is now using drones against the IDF, right? And they do really well, Hezbollah does, with their drones. And they're teaching Hamas how to use them as well. So we see an uptick in drone warfare, which I find it fascinating. Even the IDF, even the Israelis are learning how to use drone warfare. So it's warfare is changing right before our eyes, right? And the drones will cause more problems, right? For warfare as time goes on. They'll have a bigger impact and will cause more problems, probably more losses too, right? So I thought this was a pretty cool video to show, right? So you have an idea of what he is saying, right? This is why I like to show the videos more than sometimes just read articles. I really want you all to understand what's really happening. All right, so here's an older article as we move on. So this one's almost 2 weeks old, but it didn't really make sense to me until recently. So this older article talks about a revelation. These are the Western plans to destroy Russia, to break it up into 5 parts, right? It was a very short article, but when I first read this article, it didn't really make sense to me at first because I'm like, so NATO is planning to invade Russia, which I thought was very interesting. Why would they do that? And it didn't make sense to me. But in the light, this article came up just the other day, right? So it talks about NATO's dilemma. If there is peace now, the Russian army will become powerful in the coming years. Poland calls for what? The separating of Russia. Why many NATO countries are now afraid of peace. What's going on here, man? Right? So several leaders restored the extreme warlike statements against Russia at the international conference on the Ukrainian issue in Switzerland, which shows why this war will continue to escalate. Many NATO member countries are now afraid of peace by fully confirming the Siberian president for what he said. Remember, we talked about the Siberian president. Remember, go back to my video on that one. He said World War III will start in 3 to 4 months. Could be sooner, could be later. He talked about them having to be, their country stocking up on oil, flour, and sugar and other things, right? So there's a link to the video, right? And I played that the other day. So here are some videos. Let's watch these so we can continue to move on.
Я представляю ту часть мира, где Россия часто называется тюрьмой народов. К этому есть веские основания. На ее территории находятся 200 этнических групп, которые оказались на территории России в результате методов, которые Россия сегодня принимает против Украины. Россия остается крупнейшей колониальной империей в мире. И иначе, чем европейские государства, Россия никогда не прошла процесс деколонизации. Россия никогда не была в состоянии также справиться с демонами прошлого. Мы должны, в конце концов, сказать, что нет места для колониализма в современном мире. Я хочу четко заявить, только Москва несет ответственность за эту войну.
As much as this one. Now, for those who don't come from next to Russia, you must also understand that a lot of us are worried. We have 1,300 kilometers of border with Russia. Since the 1300s, we've had over 30 wars and skirmishes with Russia. Russia invaded Finland in World War II. We lost 10% of our territory, including the land where my grandparents were born and where my father was born. This is why the reaction from our side has been so vehement.
Please don't tell me I have to go back out. All right, here we go. Sorry about that.
Ukraine's peace
Sometimes it happens.
is Moldova's peace. Slava Ukraini!
Врали, изворачивались, как могли. Бывший канцлер ФРГ и бывший президент Франции, фактически соавторы и как бы гаранты минских договоренностей, вдруг позднее также прямо признали, что их выполнение, оказывается, и не планировалось. Им просто нужно было заболтать ситуацию, чтобы выиграть время для сколачивания украинских вооруженных формирований, накачки их вооружениями и техникой. Просто надули нас. В очередной раз обманули. Вместо реального мирного процесса, вместо политики реинтеграции и национального примирения, о которой любили разглагольствовать в Киеве, Донбасс в течение 8 лет обстреливали.
All right, here we go. So our next thing we're going to talk about, and I thought this really went well, right? So we're going to talk about the House passes bill to automatically register young men for the draft. This is interesting. So this article was very interesting indeed. Okay, listen attentively. The House passed a giant defense bill, the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, which includes a provision for the automatic registration of young men aged 18 to 26 for the Selective Service. This replaced the current practice of manually registering 18-year-olds and is presented as a more efficient and cost-effective method. However, the bill's future in the Democrat-controlled Senate is still being determined due to various controversial amendments. Supporters argue that use in federal databases for automatic registration would ensure a fair and adequate draft process and save money. However, critics say that this removes young men's ability to engage in civil disobedience and oppose conscription, which they view as an outdated and immoral practice. The Selective Service has a conscientious history, having been disbanded and reinstated multiple times since 1917. Despite a few recent convictions for non-registration penalties for non-compliance can include being barred from government jobs, student loans, and driver's licenses in many states. There is some bipartisan support for expanding the Selective Service to include women, but critics argue that conscription violates individual liberties. The article concludes that conscription, whether enactable or not, is fundamentally immoral and should be abolished. All right. So the reason I threw this article in, because it sounds like things are about to go down. That's why I said stick with me, right? And you got to read different articles. But this tells me that we are preparing for something, okay? That I do feel that our men and women will be over in Eastern Europe fighting in Ukraine and will be dying on Ukrainian soil, okay? But do I know that for a fact? No. I just read articles and I just share them with the world. So here we go. As we get ready to finish up here, let's translate this. So here, Russian soldiers. We're going to watch a video. It says, we are fighting satanic globalists from 35 countries. Our countrymen should unite and help us. So here's a video from a Russian soldier. All right. So we're just going to listen to what he has to say. And then we're going to get ready for some other videos and we're going to close out.
Здорово всем казакам в Австралии. Вам большой привет с Херсонского направления.
Let me start this over. Okay.
Здорово всем казакам в Австралии. Вам большой привет с Херсонского направления специальной военной операции. Мы смотрим за нашим братом и единственным, и которого мы уважаем, атаманом Австралии Семеном Байковым, да. Здесь вообще-то казаки на передовой бьются с мировым злом, блядь. И в Австралии, на дальнем зарубежье, на дальних наших рубежах. Поэтому мы просим Семен, от всего подразделения ЧВК «Конвой», просим разобраться в этой ситуации, довести казакам в Австралии. Что Отечество сейчас бьется с 35 странами, которые абсолютно нам добра не желают. И сейчас пытается к нам зайти на нашу православную землю, что сейчас, тогда, когда все соотечественники должны сплотиться и помогать Отечеству, помогать нашей общей победе. Всем добра, мир вашему дому. Семен, мы с тобой, работай, брат. Мы смотрим за тобой, надеемся скоро увидеть тебя живым и здоровым в наших рядах в том числе.
Okay. So we're going to close out right now with this. So Russians train Chinese in trench warfare to invade Taiwan. U.S. and China, Russia will attack together. Interesting. So let's look at some of these videos. So this is what this article is saying. The Russians train Chinese in trench warfare to invade Taiwan, U.S. Russia and China will attack together. Shocking Congress, what the director of the Secret Service said. For the first time, the U.S. has accused Russia of helping China prepare to invade Taiwan. U.S. intelligence agencies have informed Congress that what seemed unthinkable a few years ago is now extremely possible. The Russians are training the Chinese army, right? So the link is in the description box. So here's some of these videos. Some of these videos are interesting. I'll try not to laugh at some of these, but they're interesting.
Внимание!
You'll see what I'm talking about.
Стоп, стоп, стой, стой, стой. Смена! 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 Не зеленый! Досылай патроник! Вот сейчас зеленый! Рукой бей! Как его зовут? Залин, как тебе тренировки вообще как? Ты доволен тренировками? Нет? Доволен? Тебе сколько лет?
57-68年了。
57 лет. Вот мужик, видишь, приехал в 57 лет. С молодыми наравне. Пашет с молодыми наравне. Молодец, да, еще раз. Мужик.
Chinese soldiers training for war. While exercises like these are a daily part of China's military training, this specific drill caught the eyes of many in Taiwan. Footage from China's military shows an exercise using mock-ups of real streets and buildings in Taiwan. This one simulated an attack on a district next to the country's biggest airport. Mock-ups of Taiwan's presidential office have even been spotted being overrun by Chinese forces.
中共近年来的确是系统性的在增加这种实景跟实战化训练它的各式军种跟兵种，这都值得我们注意。同时采取更有系统性的反制方式。
China sees Taiwan as part of its territory and has long threatened to bring the country under its control with military force. But using mock-ups is not a new tactic. China has been using these fake targets to get their soldiers familiar with the battlefield for years. And it's not just Taiwan mock-ups. Satellite images in 2021 also showed China practicing how to target U.S. warships in the Gobi Desert. It's all part of Beijing's plan to provide as realistic combat training as possible to its forces.
When you see the thing for the first time that you're not familiar with, your responses is not going to be the same as, as basically what you think you would respond. And a lot of militaries, not just the Chinese, went to extraordinary lengths to combat this.
While for decades Taiwan has focused on coastal defense, analysts say little attention has been paid to other areas like urban warfare. They say that while the main focus for Taiwan's military has been keeping China from landing on its territory, there isn't much planning for what would happen if Chinese soldiers do make it onto the streets.
It is definitely a warning sign that Taiwan would have to increase its training and how it aims to actually counter urban warfare. I don't think Taiwan, as a country, has actually thought about urban warfare seriously. Right? There's a lot that can be done to make basically the urban environment into a hellhole for the enemy. And frankly, that's not something that we've seen a lot of discussion.
Using Taiwan-style mock-ups in China's military training serves a big operational purpose, but it's also meant to instill fear in Taiwan's population. While China is open about what it's targeting, it could give Taiwan an insight into what a conflict might look like. But Taiwan's toughest task is assuring its defense strategy prevents these images from becoming reality. John Su and Jaime Ocon for Taiwan Plus.
There's a few more in here. See how long some of these
单兵作战中躲不开、绕不过的新型威胁。科目设置利用自杀式穿越机和投弹机模拟战场环境。
Shows them probably just using some drones there, right? What else do we got in here? They're training with more drones. What is this? using to strike. Yeah, so it's basically showing more about what they're using for drones. So we pretty much got the idea. Before I close out, because I have nothing else to show for today, right? Unless something does come up, right? I'm going to say this in all due respect, right? Because I really want to hurry this up. Right? Okay. The fight is coming to our doorstep, right? It's coming to my doorstep. It's coming to your doorstep at some point, right? It really is. And it's time for us to understand what's ahead of us. Our country is not telling us everything. Our own government is not telling us enough what's going on. So please be prepared, right? Please like and share out this video. Subscribe if you want to, right? I always say that. But please like and share it out so other people get this information. I love you all so much, but I really, truly believe it's coming to our doorstep at some point. We're already in World War III. We're in the beginnings of World War III, right? So what we see is only the beginning stages, but World War III has already begun. It's been in the process, right? It's going to be it could be a long war. It just depends. If it goes nuclear, it may not last as long. But for it to go nuclear, we're still waiting to see, right? If that does happen. But I've shown videos where Russia has already put up tactical and nuclear warheads along the perimeter of Ukraine already, right? Maybe it's just a show of force, right? Maybe they're bluffing, maybe they're not. But all this has a meaning, and I wanted to share with you all so much. I love you all so much, but I'm going to get off here. Have a blessed day. Please like and share out this video. Love you all so much. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be merciful to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, now and forever. The sages. Amen. I love you all so much. I'm out.